Hi, it is Gwyneth here. How are you this evening? Thank you so much for being here. Okay, I'm guessing everything's going to go blurry in a minute because I'm streaming on my phone and I'm watching on my laptop because I tried the laptop earlier and it was an absolute disaster. Don't know what on earth is going on there. They tell you that it's all supposed to work on your laptop as well, but it doesn't. So how are you on this wonderful Tuesday evening? I hope you've had a brilliant day, and thank you so much for joining me on how to be a queen or indeed a king of fabulous action. I'm sure you're aware that for the most part I work on the issue of personal branding. I help women who want to market themselves, who want to be able to speak about themselves confidently, so that when they have their job interview, so that when they have to present themselves for a business presentation, business pitch or something, whatever, then, a lot of people get very, very nervous about talking about themselves. So that is basically what I do, but I understand that there are some gentlemen in the audience as well. At least I hope there will be. I'm going to be online with you for approximately 30 to 35 minutes. For those of you who are on my email list, you know that I have just thrown abandon to the wind. Webinars, I have to say I was getting extremely bored of webinars. And yes, it's important to keep learning. Yes, it's important to keep listening to new things. Oh, but when I also online, when I have to, sign up for a webinar, sign up for this, sign up for that, and you've got to send 3 emails to make sure everybody's engaged and all the rest of it. And it's a lot of work, and I don't mind doing it because I want to provide value to you. I want to provide value to anybody who's taking the time to watch this. But it's very formal and it's very rigid. And our attention spans are becoming shorter and shorter. Okay, I'm not the youngest person in the world, but even I notice that I can't be bothered to go through this double opt-in process unless it's something I really, really, really want to do. I really, really want to watch. Then I notice that a lot of my emails in my inbox they just go on unopened, and sort of once a week I go through and there's a couple of hundred there, and it's like delete, 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 delete. So, excuse me, what I decided to do instead from now on is to do Facebook Live. Now I'm just going to check what's going on here. I've got a different laptop as well this evening. Doesn't help. It really doesn't help very much. Okay, here we are. Fabulous. Okay, let's just turn off the sound because I don't want to listen to myself. Thank you. Right. Okay, so as I said, the next 30 to 35 minutes or so, we are going to be talking about how you can become a fabulous action taker and non-excuse maker. Because procrastination or not taking action is an absolute killer. And the issue, as I've been talking to you over the past few days on Facebook posts and also through email, is that by not taking action, we're not moving forward. But if you're anything like I used to be a few years ago, you'll have a to-do list and you'll start off at the beginning of the week and you'll be motivated and you'll be refreshed and yep, fantastic, I've got this. And then you continue and you continue and more things get added and more things get added and more things get added. And then you get to Wednesday or Thursday and you think, crikey, what am I doing? I'm never ever going to be able to finish all this on time. And you get to the end of the week and sure enough, you've managed maybe 4 or 5 things on your list because you've had constant interruptions. You've been constantly adding new stuff, thinking of new stuff that you have to add to your list. You get to the end of the week. The majority of things on your list haven't been done. And you end up feeling rubbish about yourself. But that really is rubbish. Why would you feel rubbish about yourself? That's just, it's not good. It's not good. So what I want to talk about, as I said in the brief on the sort of marketing I'll be doing, is the number one thing you have to understand about when you want to market yourself, because when it comes to marketing yourself, we talk a lot about working in the business and on the business. It's great to get very involved in creating processes, creating plans, creating lists and all the rest of it. But if you don't actually do anything, then you're not going to be able to market yourself successfully. The second thing I'm going to talk about briefly is aligning with who you are. Now, I promise I'm not going to go all woo-woo on you. However, the advances, the connections between the law of attraction and neuroplasticity, they're getting closer every day. It's very, very exciting. I'm a Virgo. I'm a fairly grounded, kind of down-to-earth kind of person. But I have to say, the advances in brain science and neuroscience, Very, very exciting. And the third thing, I'm going to talk a little bit about your brain and how easy it actually is to retrain your brain. Because, there have been massive, massive breakthroughs in the past 10 years or so, and we know that we can change what we do. Okay, so if you're here, if you are live, watching afterwards, whenever, hit the like, hit the love, hit the share button. If you believe that you've got friends or colleagues who would also benefit from the things I'm going to be talking about. I've got a few notes here because I've got quite a lot to say. And usually that's the one thing about a webinar, actually. On a webinar, if you're doing a PowerPoint presentation, then you've got the slides in front of you to be able to, you've got your bullet points and stuff that remind you. Doing live, talking to you through the camera like this, it doesn't quite, doesn't work. So I have got a few notes in front of me, and you will have to forgive me for looking down now and again. It's only because I want to make absolutely sure that I'm not forgetting anything. So before we launch into the sort of bulk of everything I'm going to talk about, procrastination, as I mentioned right at the beginning, is an absolute killer. It can be a killer for your business, and it can be a killer for your career. It can be a killer for everything. Why does procrastination even happen? Basically, what it is, you get stressed about something. You get upset that you've got even more on your to-do list that you just don't know how to cope with anymore. And you say, how on earth am I going to do all this? And that stress triggers in your brain, I'm already talking about your brain, triggers in your brain a sense of fear. How am I going to do this? I don't know how I'm going to do this. And this fear is growing and growing. And when you get fearful, or when you get, frightened, when you're scared, even internally, even just a little bit about not being able to finish everything, a couple of things can happen. The most common thing is that you just freeze. You might also call it going into overwhelm. You just stop because you just don't know what to do first. The second thing that can happen, I don't know if you've heard of the expression fight or flight. Either you say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Or you just say, I'm not doing this. And you go off and do something completely different. Either way, freeze or flight, your to-do list just doesn't get done. And the ongoing result of that, the longer that you're not taking action, the longer that you're not doing the things that you should be doing or you want to be doing, the worse you're going to feel about yourself. And it's really a never-ending circle. It's a vicious circle. And you can really end up getting quite unhappy and depressed because you're not allowing yourself to order stuff. You're just putting more and more and more pressure on yourself about all these things that need to be done. Okay, so getting to the main content, the number one thing for anything and everything you ever do is to always, in the words of the famous Stephen Covey from his books, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is begin with the end in mind. Get clear on what it is that you want to achieve. Because if you're just adding to your to-do list every day, because there are just things, I must do this and I must do that, without really thinking why you have to do them and what the outcome is going to be, then you are basically wasting your time. Simple as that. So always take a couple of seconds to think about what it is that you want to achieve. Now, when it comes to marketing yourself, when it really comes to sort of the business or the career aspect thing, and like I said, you make your CV very pretty by putting boxes where you're not really focusing on the content, or you've got your profile picture on Facebook and you're thinking about all the lovely things you can do so that people like the look of you when they come to look at you on social media for your business. Your website looks great and all the rest of it. But if you're not actually taking action to market yourself to people, then again, you are completely lost. So why would you be doing all that roundabout stuff and not actually taking action? Well, when it comes to talking about yourself, when it comes to marketing yourself, a lot of people are just downright afraid. They're afraid of not fitting in. They're afraid of being judged by other people. Who does she think she is, or who does he think he is? who are they to be doing this? And there's this whole thing in the environment, from the family, from the friends, potentially from your partner, your spouse, whoever, that that you're being a different person, and that you are going to be judged for what you do. And you're going to be judged negatively, and they're going to criticize you. And again, so then you know, this triggers then the fear, and that triggers the stress, and then that triggers the freeze, not going to do anything, or actually, you know what, I'm just going to go back and I'm not going to do, so we're going to do something completely different because I don't want to feel like this. This has a lot to do with when you are in your comfort zone. It's called the comfort zone for a very good reason. It's because you are comfortable there. And every time we push ourselves a little bit out of our comfort zone, it feels a bit strange. It can feel exciting, but if somebody comes along at completely the wrong time and says, what do you think you're doing? Then it can push you right back to where you were. Habits, beliefs, things that you've been doing for years and years and years, they stick in your brain. It's not because you're daft. It's not because you're not clever enough to be able to market yourself. It's not because you don't have the skills or the knowledge to be able to, pitch for a new business idea, pitch for a fabulous job. It has nothing to do with your intelligence. It has to do with you not being able to move out of your comfort zone and actually believing a little bit in yourself that you are capable. Well, I'm telling you today, you are capable. You can do it. I know you can do it. And yes, it is uncomfortable when people around you start judging you, start telling you what they think. But remember, they're judging you according to their beliefs, their values, what they believe you should be doing. They don't necessarily know what's best for you. Actually, the only person who knows what is good for you is you. Let that be said once and for all. So there we go. So that's about marketing yourself. Be aware that by taking action, you're going to be pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, and that could feel uncomfortable, especially if somebody comes along and says, who do you think you are? Well, I know you're brilliant. So just get on with it. Okay, number 2, aligning yourself with who you are. Now, this is really, really interesting. And it's so basic. It really is. It took me a very, very long time to learn it. But as I mentioned right at the beginning, it's so important to keep on learning and keep on listening. Everybody has different ideas. You can always decide, yes, I'm going to take that on board for me. No, I'm not going to. But aligning with yourself, it's a very, very simple thing. Anytime you feel bad, awkward, I should do that, don't really want to, but I really should, then that is a very, very distinct indication that you are not aligned with who you are. Every time you get excited about something, that's really exciting, even if you're feeling a little bit nervous because you are having to go out of your comfort zone, then that is an indication that you are totally aligned with who you are. So when you dare to kind of start doing things that really excite you, make you happy, and make you giggle, and I could do that, and yes, I could do that, and yes, I could do that, and you're literally creating a train of thought in your brain. Fantastic. Now, yes, I'm talking about your brain again because this is so important when it comes to taking action. But your brain cells, okay, so a little demonstration, your brain cells have got fingers, little arms around them. And every time you think positive thoughts, you are producing various chemicals, but one in particular, serotonin. And when you produce serotonin, the arms on your brain cells, they reach out and hug each other. And the longer you're thinking positive thoughts, the longer the train of thought becomes, and the more ideas you're likely to have, positive thoughts. Okay, so literally in English, we talk about creating a train of thought. That's what you're doing. Positivity creates trains of thoughts that bring you to new ideas and new revelations about what you could be doing. Now, on the flip side of that, when you think something negative, your brain, amongst other chemicals, produces something called cortisone or cortisol. And that causes your brain cells to go together. The little arms go in and they don't want to hug each other anymore. And so when I was talking, about the fear and the freezing and the not knowing what to do and the procrastination, that is exactly what happens in your brain when you are, oh, I really should do that, but I don't want to. Your brain cells are like, okay, so let's not do it then. And you just stop. You go into overwhelm, or you do something completely different and still come back and you realize you haven't done what you should have done. That's what happens in your brain. So, yeah, I know it's easy for me to say. It took me a very, very long time to learn this as well. But next time you are doing something, you think, oh, I really should do this. Oh, crumbs, I've got to do this. Focus on how you feel. It's a whole part of the emotional intelligence. It's absolutely crucial to your well-being. Focus on how you feel about doing things. And if you don't feel good about doing something, that is a clear indication that you are not aligned with who you really are. Now, again, if you're on my email list you've read my blog or videos or whatever, then you will have seen that I also talked a few days ago about creating these lists. It's very easy to create a different list, a different to-do list. Now, the first time you do it, it's going to be very, very strange. But again, this is something I did a few years ago. And the first time I did it, I thought, who am I to be telling this person I don't want to meet with them? I should be grateful that they want to speak with me. But actually, I realized I was having a lot of cups of coffee and a lot of lunches that were counterproductive even, because I would be sitting there thinking, oh, I really should be doing something else, or I really want to be doing something else. And actually, I'm just sitting with this person. And when can I leave? When is it polite to leave? So when look at your to-do list and go through everything. Give everything a 1, 2, or 3, or an ABC, depending on whatever. I've seen several people use different systems. So the A list, or the list of number ones, those are the people that you love being with, or those are the things that you need to do that are critical to your career, to your job, to your business, to your future, whatever. So if, I am going to talk about report writing, for example, meeting deadlines, those kind of things are critical to your job. Even if you don't enjoy doing them, absolutely critical, got to do them. Oh, I had a fabulous team a few years ago. And Friday afternoons, my least favorite time of the week, when all weekly reports were coming in late. No, they weren't always late, but that was a lot of work to do on a Friday afternoon. And then your B list is things that, they need to be done, but they're not immediately urgent. And potentially, if we're talking about business or job, potentially they could be delegated off to somebody else. And C, or 3, those are the things then that you really, they're just kind of nice to do, or maybe even completely unnecessary, and definitely somebody else could do them. Now, it's up to you, of course, to decide what gets onto your A list, your B list, and your C list. But I found that after doing this for a few times, that in between times, now and again, I look at my B list, but if something is on the C list, it's off. I don't even bother getting worried about it. I really, really focus on my A list. And that doesn't mean to say that you shouldn't be talking with family and friends and, spending fun times. Those things might well be on your A list if they're really, really important to you. So think about that. Now, something else that you can do, and this is also, I've seen a few people doing this, is that when you are making appointments with yourself, or when you are filling in your diary for the week, start off by putting the fun stuff in. Okay, start off by thinking about how you're going to reward yourself at the end of each day. Maybe a glass of wine, or maybe you're going to watch your favorite television program, or maybe you're going to play with your kids, or maybe you're going to take the dog for a walk, or go for a run, or go to the gym, or do some yoga, or whatever. But when you are planning your week or your day, put something for you in first. Put the fun thing in first. Because one of the issues is that when you're planning all your time, when you're making these horrible to-do lists, you're only focusing on work. And you need a bit of fun in your life, because you deserve to have fun as well. You deserve to enjoy what you're doing. So that's the second thing. Number 1, ABC 1, 2, 3. The second thing, put the fun things in, or put some rewards into your diary for you, first of all. Okay. Right, so now we're going to move on to your brain. Now I'm really going to move on to your brain. So right at the beginning, I talked about, procrastination and how it can lead to you freezing, how it can lead to you being afraid, how it can lead to you just taking off somewhere and ignoring everything you have to do. The thing about procrastination is procrastination protects. Procrastination protects you from the unknown, from that fear, and therefore sometimes it's easier just to stay in that comfort zone, in that procrastination zone, and keep on. I know this sounds completely reverse psychology, but sometimes you just want to keep on feeling bad about not having done your stuff because that's just what you have always done, and that is, in a roundabout negative kind of way, what it feels negative for you to do. I know it sounds absolutely crazy, but think about it. Because if we were all focused and total action takers all the time, then everything would be fine. And we wouldn't be talking about procrastination. The word procrastination wouldn't even exist. So just think about that. Procrastination is protection. Protection is when you are in your comfort zone. You are protecting yourself in your comfort zone. And sometimes we just stay there, even if we feel bad about staying there, because it's easier to stay there than to think about what it is we need to be changing, to be making different, so that we can actually start taking action. Okay, so what can you do about retraining your brain? Well, as I showed you already, the brain cells, when you're thinking positive stuff, the brain cells start hugging each other and you get a train of thought. But the story I always use in my workshops, because it's the easiest way to describe it, is this. We are capable of creating new neural pathways. Now, I want you to imagine you live in the mountains. I live on a hill. I don't live in the mountains, but I live on a beautiful hill. And in the winter, we have quite a lot of snow here. Last winter, we had well over a metre. And just imagine it snows one night and it's freezing cold. And your tiny village where you live doesn't have a shop. So the next day you wake up, the road has completely disappeared, but you need to get to the next town because you've got to get food. You're the only person with snowshoes, so you put your coat on, you put your snowshoes on, and it's absolutely freezing cold outside, and you kind of close your eyes up against the snow, and it's really, really difficult to see. But eventually you get there, and you're able to buy a few provisions, you put them in your rucksack, and you go back to your village. And because you can see where the snowshoes have been, you are able to kind of trace your steps, with too much difficulty, back to the village whence you came. And you do that for a few days. And after about a week, there's quite a nice path that you've trodden through, so somebody else from the village can come through to the next village, the next town with you, and get what you need. And you do that for another week or a couple of weeks. And after probably about a month, then you've made a path that's actually wide enough, potentially for a horse and cart to come through. So the villagers can actually now go to the next town themselves. They can get their wood for heating, they can get their food, they can get their water, they can get everything they need. Fantastic. And it's exactly the same in our brain. The first time we do anything new, the first time we move out of our comfort zone, it feels quite difficult. It feels as if you are going through a snowstorm or walking through mud. It's difficult because it's different. And your comfort zone is screaming to you, don't do it, stay where you are, stay with me, comfortable. Okay, it's not brilliant, but at least we know what we're doing. But after 3 or 4 weeks, when you really, really focus on making those changes, they will become a lot easier to you. I don't know if you saw the film with Sandra Bullock, it's called 28 Days. There's a lot of science as well about how long it takes us to break a habit or create a new habit. There are varying theories, but in general, sort of 4 to 6 weeks, you can easily create a new habit if you want to, if there's commitment on your side. Okay, there are lots and lots of things you can do for yourself. In addition to do the ABC 1, 2, 3, break your to-do list down into, give yourself a maximum of 3, maybe 4 if you're desperate, important actions that you need to take each day. There are always going to be interruptions. There are always going to be telephone calls. There are always going to be people saying, come into this meeting, could you do that? Can you do that? don't overload yourself with stuff to do during the day if you know that these people are going to be wanting things from you. If you've just got 3 or 4 things, important things, by the end of the day, you'll be able to tick them off with much greater satisfaction than if you're just like, okay, well, I've done 2 things on my list today or 3 things on my list today, and I've still got 50 to do by Friday. So that's another thing. Maximum of 3. Yeah, I'm sticking with 3. Magic in 3s. Stick with 3 things per day. Okay, what else have we got? Yes, your environment. Look at your desk. Look at the office space that you're in. Have you got enough light? Is your desk messy? What do you need to feel comfortable to really get stuff done in? And if particularly, if you're in an open plan office or working with other people, what could you do to encourage them to leave you alone? Now, just recently I saw that, I can't remember which company, but there is a company that is developing a keyboard that lights up when you're working, that shows green or red. So you can indicate to people whether they can disturb you or not. But it might be something as simple as sticking a post-it note up on your computer saying, I'm working, leave me alone. Or, even putting headphones in. You don't have to necessarily be listening to anything, but if you've got your headphones on, people are much less likely to disturb you than if you're just sat there doing your work. So think about how you could develop your environment so that you feel comfortable. It might just be something as simple. I've got a beautiful photograph of the lovely, I call him the man on the couch, the man in my life. We were in Botswana a few years together, and I look at that photo and it's like, oh, that was such a lovely holiday. So look after yourself, put stuff around you that you love, get rid of the piles of papers, tidy your desk, and make sure that your environment is conducive to you being able to take action on what it is that you want to do. Okay, something else that's really, really important when it comes to your brain, are you a night owl or are you an early bird? There are a lot of things going around for entrepreneurs saying, get up at 5 o'clock in the morning or go to bed at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's too early for me. I can manage 6 o'clock, but certainly no earlier. But, really, are you a night owl or are you an early bird? Schedule the important tasks for the time of the day when you know that you can be most focused. Yeah? Just block that time out and just get on with it. And something else, if you're clear on your outcome, if you really do begin with the end in mind, every time you start an activity, then you're going to make your life a lot easier. Visualizing, very, very powerful if you're into visualizing. Just close your eyes for 30 seconds or a minute. What do I want to feel like by the time I finish this? How am I going to feel? Oh, it's going to be amazing. Even if it's your tax return. I've got my VAT return coming up very soon. In between times, I can do it absolutely no problem because I set myself, 30 minutes. Speaking of time, we as human beings, as I mentioned right at the beginning, our attention spans are becoming shorter and shorter and shorter. So ideally, you are not going to be doing any task, or you're not going to be focusing on any task that lasts longer than 45 minutes at a time. Okay, I would suggest that is the maximum that you can really focus on something before you have to sort of get up, make a telephone call, make a cup of tea, walk around, whatever it is you need to do just to break, make a bit of a break. 45 minutes is your maximum. Again, with your to-do list, prioritize. Don't say, oh, I've got to write an entire email sequence, or I have got to do an entire report in a certain amount of time. Break it down. Give yourself a break, literally. Make it easy for you to get your work done. Don't make it difficult. A lot of what is happening is down to you. You've got to take responsibility for breaking it all down. Yeah. Okay, what have we got? Yeah, high energy time, I spoke to you. Get clear on, are you early bird, night bird? Get clear on your outcomes. Okay, so I've given you 3 things there. I talked about marketing yourself. Be very, very aware of how you feel when you do things. And if it's like, oh, I'm not really sure if I want to do that, then you're not aligned with yourself. Okay? Those 2 things go together. And the brain work. Make it easy for your brain. Understand when you work well. If you don't want to do something, if you've got big resistance to doing something, ask yourself why. If it's something critical to your business, maybe you should outsource it if it makes you that miserable. I don't know. So there are lots and lots of things I've given you here. Really easy things that you can be doing. Most important, be aware that the procrastination, that the not doing, your procrastination, it just makes your motivation go zhup. It's a double-edged, double-edged sword. If you procrastinate because you don't want to do something because you feel bad about doing it, you actually end up feeling worse about not having done the stuff. So be aware of that. And make lists, by all means, make lists, but just get clear on when you need to do what, by when, and what do you really expect to achieve, especially when it comes to the C list and you're thinking, why did I write that down? How is that going to help me? What am I going to achieve here? Okay, now I said today that I wasn't going to be selling anything to you, and I'm not going to be selling anything to you. But one of the things I do know is that when it comes to sort of reorganizing your life, it can be quite a lonely place. I've got a fabulous group at the moment going Stepping Into You for ladies only, where we're talking about all sorts of personal branding stuff. And I'm learning so much from the fabulous women in that group as well. I hadn't anticipated actually how much there was not only for me to teach, but how much I'm learning from them as well. And it just hit home again that we're very quick to look for help when it comes to studies, university, college, and all that stuff. Even going on a cookery course, or learning how to be a mechanic, or taking our cars to the mechanics. Had to take Queenie last week to get checked. We're very quick to look for external help when it comes to sort of the technical, the tangible stuff. But when it comes to looking for help for ourselves, there's this kind of stigma that says, no, well, I should be able to do it. And this is another reason why we end up not doing stuff, because we tell, I'm not clever enough, or I haven't got the knowledge, or I haven't got the skills. You know what? We don't come to the planet with all those skills. And regrettably, we're not taught how to manage our time. We're not taught how to set goals. We're not really taught about comfort zones and all that stuff. We're not taught about that at school. They don't teach us that stuff at school. And then you get through, okay, I'm 52, I admit it. Am I? No, I'm not quite yet. I'm 51. Yes, I'm going to be 52. And it's like, crumbs, how on earth am I supposed to, social media? How do you learn? Yeah, that's a technical thing. Quite easy for somebody to sign up to a social media course, but signing up or looking for a mentor or a coach to really help you develop the personal skills. As I said, there's a big stigma around this that, you could be perceived as being weak or just not hitting the mark. And it's so not true, because I know that the only reason I'm here today is that I've got a fantastic network of people around me, entrepreneurs, mentors, business owners, all sorts of people who I constantly turn to, who I constantly look to for new learning about new things. And so what I do want to offer to you today is what I'm going to call a breakthrough call. Now, I'm not selling you anything as such. What I am asking you to do, though, is to consider, if you haven't been able to take action up until now, why is that? Is it because you just simply need a bit of extra support? Do you need a bit of extra mentoring? Do you need a bit of extra coaching? What I'd like to do is to invite you to a 30-minute breakthrough call with me, where we are just going to spend some time on the phone, on Skype, finding out where it is that you really want to be. And then I'm going to give you some ideas about how you can get there. Now, I talk a lot about action takers, not excuse makers. If you're the type of person who's quite happy where they are, if you're just, kind of trundling along and you know that actually your life is just too busy right now and you don't want to make any difference, then please just don't apply. Don't bother. It's fine. But if you think that, maybe, there is some extra stuff I could be doing to make your life easier, and you think that I could potentially give you some great ideas, during this 30 minutes together on the breakthrough call. As I said, we talk about what you want, and then we talk about potentially finding out if there is a fit for us to work together. Not everybody is going to want to work together. You aren't ever going to want to work with work colleagues or business people that you don't like. I feel exactly the same about my clients. That sounds a little bit harsh. I love working with, people who enjoy what they do, who are motivated, who are committed to change, and who take themselves seriously, because I take myself very seriously as well. Behind all the pink and orange and t-shirts and all the rest of it, I take what I do extremely seriously, because the clients I work with them for results. If you're not results oriented, then I said, that's absolutely fine, but don't apply. I'm going to be putting a link in the comments on this post. I'm going to pin this post on my Facebook page. And if you would like to take advantage of this 30-minute breakthrough call with me, then just choose a time from my diary. It's a link to my calendar. I've got about 10 spaces available. You just check when it suits you, and I'd be delighted. I'd absolutely love to speak with you about how we could help you to take things further. Because as I said, there's loads of stuff out there. People aren't worried at all about going out and getting help for the technical stuff. But when it comes to the personal, that touchy-feely emotional stuff, then people are really quite reticent, because, well, usually they're afraid of being judged for, feeling stupid, or they just don't know what they're doing, and they should know what they're doing, but it's not like that in life. I know that, you know that. And that's why I'm doing this today, even telling you how to manage your to-do list. So let's just do a very, very quick recap. Recap. I was just procrastination is protection. Procrastination protects you from going into your panic zone, getting absolutely scared about all the action you should be taking, but you really don't know where to start. But at the same time, by staying in your comfort zone, you're actually being even more negative in the long run, because at some point you look at that list and you think, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. There must be more to life than lists. So that's the first thing we talked about. Procrastination protects, but actually it's not great. And it's a big damper on motivation. Secondly, I talked about marketing yourself, how this procrastination really can affect you marketing yourself. You're great at making all things pretty, but then you really, really don't want to take action. And you need to be aware of, how are you letting other people judge you? How are you letting other people's opinions affect the action that you take? Then we talked about you aligning with who you are. Again, that's very easy. We are emotional beings, Any decision we take, it's emotions. It's always emotional. We use facts, we use evidence to justify the decision, but the second that we take a decision, it's emotional. It's as simple as that. And so when you are deciding on, what to do with your ABC, your 1, 2, 3, when you're deciding on prioritizing, listen to your body, listen to your feelings. What are they telling you? Because as soon as you start feeling bad about something, that is a very, very clear indication that you are not aligned with who you are. And thirdly, I talked quite a lot about your brain, actually, all the way through. We talked about, the environment that you're working in, breaking stuff down into really easy steps, not working longer than 45 minutes at a time, getting very, very clear on your outcomes. Get clear on when you're high energy. This also has a lot to do actually with how much blood is flowing to your brain at any point during the day. And one thing I just see I've got on my list here that I didn't notice, and that is breathing. Even if you just take 6 deep breaths in and out, you can prevent yourself from going into overwhelm, that fear, that fright, whatever. And instead of just breathing in 1, 2, 3, 4 and out 1, 2, 3, 4. This is something I learned from Esther Hicks. If any of you have looked at law of attraction, Esther Hicks has a lot to say about the law of attraction. What she suggests is actually breathing in 3. So you breathe in 1, 2, 3, and you release your breath over 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is another way, and that's actually a brilliant way of interrupting negative thought patterns. Do that 6 times. you'll feel a lot better. Easy, right? Okay. So I don't actually see any questions here. So I'm just going to say thank you very, very much for being with me this evening. Gone a little bit over the time. It's just coming up 20 to 8. But I hope that this evening has been useful. Continue, please, to place any comments in the comments box here. As I said, the time trade, the link to my calendar is there if you would like a breakthrough call, if you are serious about changing the way that you manage your time and you therefore change the way that you manage yourself and marketing yourself and putting yourself out there, be that for a career change or a business pitch or whatever, please do get in touch. Thank you so much for being here. Loads of love and bye for now.